So in this section or last presentation, we'll be looking at ArcGIS Pro as the next generation desktop GIS. So this app is far ahead of anything else in the market. It's a powerful application for professional mapping, advanced analytics, and data management. ArcGIS Pro is the premier desktop GIS software offering complete map authoring, advanced analysis, data visualization, extensibility, and web integration. It allows you to import multiple data formats and use powerful analytics tools and workflows to identify spatial patterns, trends, and non-obvious relationships. You can use it to create beautiful maps and meaningful geographic services that can be printed and published digitally. It's the right GIS software for your work. So before taking a closer look at Pro, we will take a quick look at ArcMap. You know all about ArcMap. You use it every day and have been for a while. You may not be aware, however, that at version 10.4, Esri made a significant investment in the architecture of ArcMap to extend the longevity of this application for you. So this includes the re-engineering of compilers to allow it to run on the latest operating systems. But since you are familiar with ArcMap, we'd like to focus on Pro today. So Pro is presently at version 2.0, and it continues to build towards functional equivalency with ArcMap, while bringing its own innovations to desktop GIS and providing greater support for the web. It features an improved and innovative user experience for processing and analyzing imagery. It is written on a new, secure, cross-platform scripting language for rendering and labeling, and greater capabilities for creating and using vector tiles. So ArcMap users, gone are the days of having to switch between multiple applications such as ArcCatalog, Globe, and Scene. Esri heard your cries and have completely re-engineered the platform just for you. Esri took the best of ArcMap, Catalog, Globe, and Scene and fused them in one application. Pro also contains the City Engine runtime to fully leverage the incredible realistic procedural rules that can be created to simulate 3D features. So what is Pro? Pro is Esri's new reinvented full-featured desktop GIS, providing mapping, visualization, editing, and analysis capabilities. It's a central part of the ArcGIS platform. It's a 64-bit desktop application that lets you render and process your data faster than ever. It's developed as a 64-bit native application, which allows your Pro to take full advantage of today's modern workstation class computer hardware. The simplified user interface is ribbon-based, that is contextually driven, which allows you to organize command buttons by group. So buttons are dynamically displayed in groups based on tasks and views that are currently in use. For example, if you start working in 3D, additional ribbons will appear that hold tools related to the added dimension. If you select a feature on the table of content, you'll see ribbons appear to edit the symbology for that feature. And by minimizing the commands on the screen at any one time, the user interface is simplified, which gives you more room to work. Pro allows you also to seamlessly work in both 2D and 3D, something that previously required multiple programs. You can also work with multiple displays and layouts in the same project. and publish finished web maps and scenes directly to ArcGIS Online or portal for ArcGIS. So what makes Pro modern, fast, and powerful? Pro is modern because it supports 2D and 3D for visualization, for editing, and for spatial analysis. It is fast. The brand new graphics engine that supports 2D and 3D allows this app to always remain responsive. You can have multiple maps open, multiple tables open, and execute multiple tools. The app does not block you or make you wait. It allows you to be more productive. This is possible because Pro is a 64-bit multi-threaded application, and that is why we can do this. Now, what makes Pro powerful? Part of the power is the simplicity of Pro. To get started using your existing data, modeling your complex workflow, and making great maps, all you have to do is import your map scenes, your globe documents, your maps, your layout, your symbology, your geoprocessing tools, your models. They all come in and they can be used with little or no modification. So Pro allows you to author, publish, and consume 3D scene services for points. So on screen, we have a fly-through of a point cloud scene layer where billions of points are generated from a last dataset layer. This point cloud scene layer helps support sharing of 3D point content across the platform. So how do you go about licensing your ArcGIS Pro? There are 3 licensing options available with Pro. All licenses for Pro are provisioned as name user license by default. With a name user license, you can use your ArcGIS Online or portal for ArcGIS account credentials to sign in on any machine that has Pro installed. And the application runs with the level and extensions specified by your organization administrator in ArcGIS Online or portal for ArcGIS. If you want to use a type of licensing other than the default, you can convert your name user licenses to concurrent use or single-use license. Single-use licenses are authorized on a single machine similar to ArcMap by one or more unique authorization numbers. So once authorized, anyone with access to that machine can use Pro on or off the network. And with your concurrent use licenses with ArcGIS Pro follows the same management and authorization steps as ArcMap. With the concurrent use license, your machine points to a license manager server for licensing authorization from a shared pool of licenses, and you can choose your license level and extensions as long as the desired license is available. This also allows for more users to have Pro installed on their machine than the total number of licenses. So this simply means you may purchase one concurrent use license, but you can install the software on 10 different machines. However, at any given point, only one person will be able to use the software. So why should you go Pro? Can I see a show by hand how many of you are using ArcGIS Pro? All right, we have 2 persons using Pro. For those of you that are not using Pro, you might be asking yourself, why should you go Pro? We are going to demonstrate ArcGIS Pro and show you the value it can bring to you and your work today.
click on building footprints, a couple of things automatically happen. First of all, my building footprints are blue. That means it's the active layer inside my contents pane. And because of that, the 3 new tabs that appeared on the top directly affect my building footprints. So under the appearance tab, this is where I can adjust things like the transparency. We have the labeling tab to adjust the labels, and even a tab to look at like the fields that are part of this feature class. Now notice nothing is covering my map at this time. It's all up in the ribbons. But if I wanted to dive deeper into any one of these buttons, I could just click something like the field button, and it'll open up a new window, and I can search on like owner and filter directly through all the attributes of that one layer. And I loved this part of ArcGIS Pro because when I was working at a city, our parcel layer, I swear it had like 60 different attributes on it because everybody wanted their own thing. And this is great to really filter through and find what you need fast. Now remember, it's context sensitive. So if I click on this topographic base map, or vector tile base map, which is new at 1.4, you'll see that my tabs have changed. I only have one currently, and it's called the appearance tab. Now as our vector tiles become more mature and we continue to develop on them, we'll be adding more and more tools at each release of your tab. So whatever you're clicking on in the contents pane is what the tab up top is now reflecting of. The second thing that I really want to point out is that ArcGIS Pro is a project-based application, and that means in one project you can have multiple maps. So here's one about editing. You can also have scenes, so 3D and 2D is built directly inside of ArcGIS Pro. There's no need to go to a separate application now. You can also have multiple layouts, and this has been requested for a very, very long time by many of you in the audience and all over the United States and the world to have multiple layouts be directly inside of one project, and it's now there. The other thing is that ArcGIS Pro is connected to the rest of your organization. So I've already logged in with my identity, and you can see that in the upper right-hand corner. It has my username up there. And when I click on this next tab called Portal, what I'm connecting to is my organization. So here's everything that I own that belongs to me, from 3D to some LiDAR data and so forth. I can also see all the groups that I'm a member of, such as the drone tower inspection, and all the different attributes, or all the different layers in that one group. Now, I'm connected to the rest of the world. So if I search for trees, I'm searching all organizations that have shared information publicly to the world. And you can see there's a ton on trees. Now, here's a little tip for you guys. To filter this to only look within your organization, you have to go to this hamburger control, and yes, it is actually called a hamburger control, and then you search my organization. Now, when I hit the trees, you'll see I've narrowed my search to only things that are in my org. And you can see my different layer packages and even my maps on tree inspections. The other part of our platform is this thing called the Living Atlas, and you have access to the category under demographic and lifestyle called spending and behaviors. And I'll look for like fruit. So what's available is a bunch of maps and layers. Here's ones about how much money people spend on fruits and vegetables. And this goes down to a block. So now, how many of you do editing? All right. So editing inside of ArcGIS Pro. There's a couple of things a couple of tips I want to share with you. So I'll open up a new map called Editing Map. So in this map, I have some building footprints or lack thereof here in the middle. And I want to start editing building footprints. Well, you do not start or stop an edit session inside of ArcGIS Pro. If you have access or permissions to edit the data, you can do that. Here's how it's done. First of all, you need to make sure the layer is turned on. Building footprints is turned on. Second, we can see that there are different ways to share, or different ways to look at the data in my map. There's the data source view. You can look at the list by selection, but there's also this one, list by editing. It's within this location where you have to turn on the layer you would like to edit. So now that my layer is editable, when I go to the Edit tab and I want to create a new building footprint, there it is. So I'll use this one tool of create right angles. And I'll just do some heads-up digitizing. Now, there's also this really nice snapping environment inside of ArcGIS Pro. It's very in your face, which could be a very good thing when you're learning how to build building footprints. I'll right-click and do a finish and square. That way my building is built of right angles, and that's it. View turns things on and off. So there are my building footprints turned off in my facility sites. The drawing view does that. When you're in the edit view, that just tells you what you're editing. So in this case, I'm editing my facility sites. So I want to modify this polygon so that way I don't have this gap right here. So I'll use the modify button on the edit tab, and I'll do this align features. Now I do not want align features. I want align edge. I really love this tool for two main reasons. First of all, it's very contextual. Boundaries, no overlaps, no slivers, nothing. It's that quick. So now I want to do the same down here, but I can't align this to another polygon because I don't have one right here. So what I want to do is align this feature class to my parcel boundaries. And all I have to do is turn on parcel boundaries in my edit view, and now they participate in the map topology. There you go. So did anybody catch what I said? A map topology. In ArcGIS Pro, map topologies are turned on by default, and you can see that appear in the upper left-hand corner. Now, if you have your own geodatabase topology, that's cool. We still work with that perfectly well. But you don't have to build your map topologies from scratch. We're already on by default. So now I want to do one more edit. And I'm going to use my bookmarks because I want to tell you about books to show editing over here. We're going to edit some addresses and some building entrances. So the first thing I'm going to do is adjust what I can edit to be site addresses and entrances. And then I'll go ahead and just turn them on. So what we have, or what we do not have, is an address point. So I'll come back to my edit and I'll hit the create. And right here, what we have is an editing template. And these are something that are available in ArcGIS Pro. This template, when I click the very first time, I'm creating an address point. Every subsequent click is a building entrance into the building. And then the final click is the driveway for this parcel. So I'll go ahead and add some information. Site address is 1234. Address number is 380. Anybody want to guess what the road name would be? New York. All right. So now my first click is an address point, and that's a single feature class. Now my subsequent clicks are all the entrances into the building. And this is a completely separate feature class. And then my final click will be at the driveway entrance. So let's look at what we have here. So again, 1 point for site address and multiple points for my entrances layer. Now, one of the things that's always been available, no matter what version of desktop you're using, is the idea of global updates. And I think that's a huge tip I always like to tell. So by clicking on just entrances and then editing information such as entrance ID is 1234, site address ID, is 380, and that's just captured on a map. All these will now be updated appropriately. And what's nice is that if you have a relationship class, that's still managed in versioning tab. Well, the way you do it is you go back to the contents pane and you click on your data source view. And when you click on the database or the geodatabase that you're using, if versioning is enabled, the versioning toolbar appears, or the versioning tab appears. It's right there. And this is where you can do your reconcile, your post, and so forth. So that's how you get to it. Remember, it's a context-sensitive application. So it's not going to show you the versioning tools until you're ready to look at versioning. And you do that by clicking on the geodatabase that has the versioning enabled. Now, I love this term, sharing is caring. And ArcGIS Pro loves to care and share. And it has its tab called Share. And it's really important to just see how things can be shared nowadays. So we have our project package and our map package. These are things that you're probably used to because they've been around for quite some time. But we can now share information as a web map and a web layer. You may remember Jack talking about services oriented and how Pro consumes and generates services. Well, this is exactly what he was talking about. So I can click on one of my layers, such as, building footprints, and I can share this as a web layer. And I'll have my dialog box to be able to share. I can give it a name. If I wanted to make this into a vector tile, we can do that because that's now available in ArcGIS Pro 1.4. And I'll give it a summary. Give it a tag as well. Editing, we'll call this buildings. And then I can analyze and then just publish it. Oh, I'm saved of it. Sure, I'll save them. So with ArcGIS Pro, sharing is very straightforward. And because it's a multi-threaded 64-bit application, I can continue working. If I wanted to, I can continue my edit session. It's a project called 2D to 3D. Now here's what's really nice. You can turn on auto save for your edits inside of ArcGIS Pro. I didn't have that feature turned on, so I'm being asked if I want to look and save any of these edits. Now I don't want to save these ones, or these edits, so I'll do that. Don't want to save the project. And I'll open up my 2D, 3D. So in this map, I have just some typical layers that each of you probably have. Building footprints and trees, right? How many of you have a tree layer in your organization? Yeah, exactly. This is very common data. But what I'm going to do is symbolize 2D data in 3D. I'm just going to symbolize data in 3D, okay? I'm not going to be creating stuff right now. And to do that is very straightforward. I'll go to the View tab and just hit the Convert button. So now I'm converting this 2D flat map into a scene. And now you can see as I pan and zoom, I'm in a 3D environment and I can see all this information. But remember, this is just a regular feature class, no z-values, it's not multi-patch feature class. So what I can do though is take my building footprints, drag it into my 3D layers, and because I clicked on that layer, I have this appearance tab, I can extrude on a base height of, let's say, 20 feet. Boom, there it is. My building footprints are now symbolized in 3D. And one of the other tools that we've created under the measure option is this measure vertical. And this is a tool I want to show you because what it does is it gives you a disk that allows you to measure something in 3D, and it's really, really powerful to be able to do that. So that measure tool is there for you. So this is just symbolizing data that you already have. Everybody has data like this in 3D. Now, I could continue to do the same with my trees, for example, but what Esri did is we created, just click on this preset of realistic trees. I'll navigate to my feature class of trees. And we're looking for 3 attributes on the trees. So if you have these attributes on your tree data right now, you can do this. So if you have an attribute for the tree type, right, which I call tree genius in my schema. If you have a category for tree height and also crown width, you can do this. So what we're looking at is that tree genius, and we're actually symbolizing the trees based upon that type and based upon that height. And again, this is just regular old feature classes that I know each of you have. And this is how we can begin to use 3D, and we can share this. So I'm going to turn off the layers that we just were looking at. And I'll show you, here's the LiDAR data. Here's that point cloud that I have for Naperville. So what Esri has done is we've created some tasks. So if you go to our solutions website, which is solutions.arcgis.com, click on the gallery tab, and this is important. Search on the word scene, S-C-E-N-E, scene. That's the word you want to search on. You'll find what's called the local government 3D base map. So if you want to find out more information about what this base map or what this package does, it's all written out here, and we have videos and other tutorials. But basically, here's what it'll do. It'll make something as generic as lollipop looking trees all the way down to something as detailed as this, where you put facade. So under my project pane, there's a folder called task. So here are the different tasks that are available when you download these tasks are. So here in the second step, publish level of detail 1, and that's a very generic facade on buildings. You'll see that the first step is to calculate building heights. So there's this dialog that appears that you can configure. And again, this is like Esri having a 3D expert over your shoulder. We've already configured everything for you. I'm going to select my 2D buildings layer. I've already created a digital terrain and a digital surface model from my LiDAR. That was actually the step 1. And then I'll just hit finish. There we go, and it's done. So now I could go through all 6 steps, but we want to get you out of here by noon. So I've pre-calculated many of the steps. So if I go into my portal and I search my content for LOD3, here is a service. It's a 3D service of level of detail 3 buildings. So I'm going to just add to my current map. I'll turn off my LiDAR data. So remember, Jack again said it's a services-oriented architecture. So this is just a service of 3D buildings that are available. So these buildings were generated just from the building footprints I had and running those tasks. And then if we turn on our tree data with this, we can now see in more context the entire landscape of the city.
Right, so I hope you appreciated all of the things you saw in ArcGIS Pro demo. We saw editing improvements to make you more efficient, Python scripting to automate processes, as well as other brand new advances. And of course, making our 2D data into 3D with symbology or creating new 3D models from LiDAR data. So 3D is no longer a luxury, it's a necessity. So if you're not using ArcGIS Pro, make some time to start to learn it and to fold it into your daily work. There are videos, tutorials, courses, and books available to help you get up to speed fast. So what are our takeaways from this? Pro is the foundational app for data management, map authoring, advanced visualization, spatial analysis, web integration. It makes life easier and you can create 3D GIS easily.